we also want to talk about the heart of man. Like, what is the heart? And I think we could start, if you'll allow me, by reading from one of the best books ever written, which is the Catechism of the Catholic Church. So the Catechism has this paragraph, I think it's in the section on Christian prayer.
That's right.
And it says this about the heart. So it's very beautiful, kind of defining what the heart is. Like, obviously every human being has a literal biological organ called the heart. But that has come to symbolize what the church, what the Christian tradition refers to by when it's talking about the following. So I'll read this. The heart is our hidden center, beyond the grasp of our reason and of others. Only the Spirit of God can fathom the human heart and know it fully. The heart is the place of decision, deeper than our psychic drives. It is the place of truth, where we choose life or death. It is the place of encounter, because as an image of God, we live in relation. It is the place of the covenant. So that's kind of a profound and awesome definition of what the heart is to get us started. But you wanna, I don't know, reflect on that, thoughts on that? You want to unpack that a little bit for us, Max?
Yeah. So as some of you probably know, I've been reading through some of Dietrich von Hildebrand's work, and particularly actually the book called The Heart, right? The Center of Affectivity is the full title. And he kind of elaborates on what the heart is. And I think this definition that the church provides for us is a good, it encapsulates what the heart is. And it is in fact kind of this hidden center. And that's important because, as Joey was saying, it's not just the biological or the anatomical heart, the cardiovascular kind of, what surgeons operate on. We're talking about something kind of even deeper still.
Could I just say though, Max, before you continue, like there's a reason though that we've chosen, that humanity, that the Christian tradition, in trying to describe this inner life of man, has chosen this particular organ in our bodies, right, to symbolize what we mean about our deepest center, right? So like the heart, what does it do? It literally, it is not only like at the center of our body, but it also pumps the blood throughout our veins, right? It's in a very real sense the source of our biological existence. And what the church is talking about, what we're going to be talking about today when we talk about the human heart, understood in a more spiritual sense, is it's the source of our spiritual existence. It's the source of our humanity. So I just wanted to point out the fact that there's a goodness of fit between this organ as it's been chosen by the tradition and what it actually symbolizes and signifies.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And I think that's where we can begin the discussion, because we begin to see that the heart of man isn't simply, again, something biological. It's actually something unique to man in that the heart actually enables us to enter into communion. Right? And this is like one of the things the definition is saying. It is a place of encounter. It's the centermost place of man where he is able to choose. To choose what? To choose relationship. Relationship with himself, relationship with neighbor, and relationship with God. And I think that's the important part, because at least when Dietrich von Hildebrand talks about the heart, and I don't guess it's far-fetched to say JP2 and those who helped articulate the catechism are expanding on this idea, is that man is actually called to enter into a relationship, to give of himself, his full self, over to the other, lowercase o, the person, and a capital O, God, other. And it's kind of, the heart isn't limited to the biological, but it's also not just simply limited to our intellectual ability to comprehend. And this is very important, right? This is very important because the heart, as you were saying, pulses life in us biologically, and it pulses life in us spiritually, because it's actually the heart that allows us to be in communion with the transcendent. It's what literally pulses life in us. And it's not just something we can rationally understand as doing so.
Yeah, and that's why the Catechism quote says it's our hidden center beyond the grasp of our reason and of others, right? It's even deeper in us than our intellectual processes, which is why, for example, I'm thinking of a husband and a bride and a groom on their wedding day, gazing into each other's eyes and making the decision to say, I do. That decision isn't strictly made out of like some sort of rational calculation. Like, oh yes, I know that this person is going to be faithful to me, and I know that I'm going to be able to be faithful to this person. We've talked about this before. Right. It's the decision to say I do is coming up from a deeper wellspring than that of the intellect. It's coming up from, well, what we're calling the heart. It's like the deepest center of ourselves, the place where we make those ultimate decisions about our lives.
Right. And the heart is also the place where we actually reveal ourselves, interestingly enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. There's a famous spokesman actually of the von Hildebrand couple, right? So there's Dietrich von Hildebrand and his wife, Alice von Hildebrand, who wrote extensively on these kind of what we call personalist philosophies, but here expanding on the heart. So Dr. John Crosby once said on a lecture he gave, reflecting on Hildebrand's work, he said that the heart reveals the true self of a human being. What does it mean by this? Here again, he draws on von Hildebrand, but he's basically saying that, like, let's give an example here, right? Let's say I'm on the side of the road.
Naturally.
And my tire's flat. And people are driving by, and all of a sudden somebody stops. But they stop hesitatingly. They're like, oh, crap. I'm late, I'm late to work, I guess I'll help this person. Well, it's a good act, and there should be gratitude on behalf of the person who was just helped. There is something deeply revealing about the person who just helped you. Namely that he or she didn't give him or herself fully to this embrace of communion, right? Where the person who stopped kind of desiring to help, coming from his wellspring of his life, coming from him fully in his intellectual and his emotional and his kind of heart-filled capacity to serve, reveals something even fuller, even more full about the person who is now helping me on the side of the road. I don't know if that makes sense.
So you're saying that, like, you're kind of contrasting two different examples here. One is someone pulls over to help you on the side of the road, but they do it kind of begrudgingly, like out of a sense of some sort of moral duty or obligation. And they're like, I'm not going to be able to have a clear conscience unless I pull over and help this person. And so I'm going to do this, but I'm kind of mad about it. So there's that. And that attitude that person has in helping you, even though helping you is a very good thing, that reveals something about their heart. It reveals that they're not fully giving themselves to you. Whereas in another example, if somebody drove by, saw that you were in need, and unhesitatingly and joyfully and promptly decided to stop and pull over and help you, and did it with a spirit of joy, genuinely, that's revelatory of that person's heart, right?
Yeah. Right. And so this is a thing. So take example number one. He did it out of sheer will. He didn't do it out of... he didn't do it out of kind of an immersion into who I was. He didn't recognize that I was suffering on the side of the road. He didn't recognize that I too am late for work. He didn't recognize that if I don't get this job, if I don't make this interview, I'm not getting the job I need to, there's not kind of a recognition of all the values of structure. And in a certain way, we can't live that way. We can't fully embrace the compass of everything that we engage, but there is something lacking in the person that's helping. Whereas, take example B, the person who recognizes that is habituated, and is kind of his passions and his mind, everything is aligned in such a way that he or she is able to give him or herself over to the person in need.